It's another edition of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast with me, Jonathan Howe, Travis Cunningham joining me here. And we are, of course, brought to you by Oshweekend Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement, as well as Bicknell Racing Products. Episode 48, Travis, who you got for your driver for number 48?
I'm going to go with, he's retired, been retired for a while now, a little bit, but back in the day, one of my favorite street stock drivers was always Silly Billy Hogue, 48.
Nice.
Go
Good pick.
Metrics.
Yeah, sticking with the theme of street stocks. Some Thunderstock drivers from Oshweekend. Braden King, Al King, and Nate Klaus all piloted the 48 for starts last year at Oshweekend Speedway. So shout out to all of them. I believe it was all the same 48 car that they shared, I want to believe, but I'm not 100% sure if uh, Nate was in with the Kings as well. I assume so, but I'm trying to remember the paint schemes and I can't 100% confirm that off my memory. So, but I am going to say that Nate, I think I said Klaus, but it could be Claus as well. So, Nate, I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but you made your start at Oshweekend alongside Al and Braden in that 48 car. So, good job. Let's see the 48 again. Also, Lyle White. So, there's multiple drivers of the 48 and Brad Bacher. How many 48s were there? I'm just going through the Thunderstocks. I think 4 or 5 different drivers piloted a 48 at
They've got to be car
Oshweekend.
sharing on that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So everybody takes a turn. Everybody gets a ride, gets
Did
some
you say
seat time.
Marshall?
And no, I did not say Andrew Marshall, but
Andrew
you can add
Marshall.
him in there as well. Crate sprint driver
Okay.
from Dorchester, Ontario, which makes me laugh because I grew up near Dorchester Road in Niagara Falls. So every time I think of the city, I'm like, no, it should be the street. Anyways, we got to start with some local talent. St. Catharines' own Money Matt Williamson picks up the win in the King of the Big Blocks from Bridgeport on Sunday as we finally have a Super DIRTcar Series race to talk about.
Yeah, definitely had a hard time getting going there. A few rainouts and stuff like that with Can-Am and Atomic. And then, they had a little bit, track was definitely a little bit rough. Matt talked about it a lot in his victory lane speech, talking about just trying to find a smooth line, and then he even said he was glad it was over. But a lot of race car drivers feel that when they're leading, like just want it to be over and get paid. And he was able to hold on, get paid, and that's 5 out of the last 7 Super DIRTcar Series races for old Money Matt. So he went into a little bit of a slump, and true Money Matt fashion, now he's on a bit of a hot streak, on a heater.
Yep. And obviously, as this is the first event that's counted for points, he is the current Super DIRTcar Series points leader. We'll see how he can manage that lead throughout the year. Just from the race, though, I mean, this wasn't one of those wins like he had in Florida where he only led the last lap. He was out there for quite a bit. It looks like 14 laps led is
Yep.
the number I'm seeing. So it wasn't quite the closer clutch wins that we saw in Florida. This was a different kind of victory, which, like you say, 5 out of the last 7. So Money Matt is on a roll, to say the least.
Yep, Matt Stengel was coming at the end too. Like a couple more laps, he definitely would have shown Matt the door on the outside, maybe. But and then I forget who was leading early. The number 12 car, I forget who was in it, out of the Smith stable. He led for a long time. He's a younger guy, I think, or a newer guy.
Yeah,
And don't see
Darren
him
Smith.
Darren Smith, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, he did a good
He
job
led
up front.
56.
Yeah, so he was definitely looking good. It was definitely a tough track to get a hold of, or not to get a hold of, but just Matt said like all the bite was in the rut, so you had to drive through them and stuff like that. And I thought he was going to hold on and get it. Matt,
Well, I mean, just look at
nipped him.
the cars that didn't finish, right? You know, from 17th on back, we had DNFs for Peter Britton, Matthew Desjardins, Mike Mahaney amongst those who didn't finish. So definitely attrition was a big part of this one, and drivers going out at various points throughout the night. So glad that Matt could survive, start off with a good points night to start the year. And most importantly, I'm looking at the results, and you know, I feel like. Do you feel like in the Super DIRTcar Series, it's going to come down to Matt Williamson, Matt Shepard, and Max McLaughlin for the title?
Mac's gonna have to just touch up his consistency a little bit. He kind of reminds me of like a Sheldon Haudenschild a little bit, on where you kind of be hit or miss. But last 2 years, it was either Super Matt or Money Matt.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see something like Max McLaughlin, or just who else could come up?
Maybe Perego?
Yeah, he's only just he's been on the short track super. He doesn't have a lot of experience at like the dirt car tracks, but he's definitely got Where'd he finish in points last year? Like fifth, I think.
I
I'm
don't
pretty
have that
sure.
in
Yeah, you don't have
front
that
of
in front
me,
of me.
but I
I'm pretty
think
sure
you're
it's
right.
around fifth or so. So yeah,
Here, let's see.
he's
I'll double
definitely
check.
got lots of talent.
He ended up sixth in points. That's why I say I'm just trying to think of like I always when I look at this stuff, I try to track drivers that are on the upward swing of their career
Max
because
is definitely there.
yeah, right. That's why I said I think Max is and the next guy who's going to take a step. If it's if it's Matt Williamson who's really kind of taken a step in the last 5-10 years, I would say maybe Max is the next guy who we're going to see over the next 5 years really become one of the stars of the Super DIRTcar series. I think that's probably where the
He's already
projections would
one of the
have him.
most popular drivers.
Yeah, exactly. And probably shouldn't discount Jimmy Phelps, who ended up third in points from last year. Peter Britton, another guy who was ended up in the top five in the Super DIRTcar Series points. So those are
Those are all
probably two
guys that
guys.
have the speed, but just the
Yeah,
consistency is like over a championship is the hard part
yeah,
over
for
the
sure.
20 race grind.
Yeah, so those would be the guys I would circle right now, but we'll see how it plays out in the Super DIRTcar Series. We should also touch on the fact that we would have liked to have been talking about the Spring Sizzler opener from Merrittville Speedway this week on the show, but Mother Nature had other plans. Mother Nature is really embracing the whole Mercury and retrograde thing and throwing us some curveballs in the racing world. And it's not looking much prettier this weekend so far. I know I just saw Ransomville has already gone ahead and canceled their test and tune night and halted their activities for the weekend, which is kind of a bummer. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with Merrittville if they're going to chance it out and maybe leave it till Saturday morning. Tough decisions await everybody involved in the racing community, including yourself. You're looking to make some plans for the weekend, but just talk about, I guess, first the
Yeah.
disappointment of not being able to get out there last Saturday.
Well, the main disappointment is this year. Last year there was 4 SOS races at Merrittville. This year there's only 3, and now we've lost one of them. So now I only get to race Merrittville twice. Although the next one's at Gary Cunningham Memorial, June 24th. Lots of stuff to come, announcements on that, and we are selling laps. We've already got like 5 sold. So if you need a lap sold, $50. We got 20 left. And yeah, but the rain. So yeah, losing one race at Merrittville, that definitely hurts for me because I just love that place, and it's kind of a place where I got a home ice advantage a little bit sometimes. And just because the Merrittville guys know how to handle that turn 4. Turn 1 and 2 is
Yes.
easy. Turn 4, very hard.
Yes.
But yeah, and then this week I was been weather watching all week again because I'm thinking might as well go down to Fulton. It's only 3 hours away. I always wanted to run some ESS stuff. They pay 300 US to start, so if you make the show, it's almost like 400 Canadian. So and it's just about as far as Brighton, just the other way, and gas is cheaper that way, except for the border toll. That sucks. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's funny how in the this is what I want to say. Like in the winter, I never ever look at my weather app, even if it's a big snow coming. I'll just trust the TV. Yep, there's snow coming. But summertime, and you're going racing, and there's a chance of weather, you are watching your phone nonstop. Like your question on 97.7 when you're doing the age check thing in the weather app, or like what app you use on your phone the most in the summer. Mine would be the weather app. That'll
Yeah.
throw you guys for a curveball. You guys think I'm 70.
No, or for me, I would personally think, oh, he's a race car driver, so
That's just you.
or a race fan.
I might
So
get Carl Brown on that one.
yeah, he might be. Although he is a sprint car guy. I think he was looking forward to
True,
getting out
true.
to the opener at Maryville there, but didn't quite happen. I guess just keep it locked to Maryville Speedway's social media and drivers and crews. If you're not going to be sticking around later in the show, which we don't know why you wouldn't, but you in case you missed the ads, Van Sickle Pet Value in St. Catharines, as well as Lundy's Lane Pet Value in Niagara Falls. Going to have your pit passes. So any drivers and crew members that need to be on the pit side of things at Maryville, they can pick up passes from those two pet store locations. And any race fans who may also have some pets or are thinking about adopting dogs, cats, fish, whatever, lizards, go and visit Van Sickle Pet Value and Lundy's Lane Pet Value, and you can pick up your race tickets there. And you can even pick up you get a little coupon on the back of it for a free dog wash for the grandstand tickets too. So always handy. Take Finn to the self dog wash. It's better than using my own bathtub. So shout out them. Thank you for them. Thank you to them. Thank you to Jeff Riley and Rhonda Riley for coming on board, supporting the show this year. And yeah, what better way to beat the box office and maybe even run into some furry friends at the pet store. So shout out to
For your
them.
friends.
we got to talk about the high limits, and I feel like the word I chose to describe kind of the start of this year is that I think it's a little lackluster. Like, I think there was a lot of hype, rightfully so, for a series put together by Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet as the main kind of guys. But it just, I don't think it's gone off to the start that anybody really expected or hoped for necessarily.
Yeah, it's definitely well, it's had two major injuries so far already. That's one, like Jake Newman and now Alex Bowman. We'll
Yep,
talk a
not
little bit more
ideal.
about that later, but like the racing's been good at both of them. uh Seeing as how we're going to use the choose cone at Ash weekend, we're using like I'm personally using the high limit series to see all the mistakes they make first, so I can bring them up at the drivers meeting to make sure we don't do that. Like the first one, they just had like the normal cone out there that we usually have to stay to the right of. Like they didn't put a like a big choose cone out there. So the reason that Geo, or that's what I was listening to a podcast with Kyle and Brad Sweet, I think it was on Flow Racing. But anyway, they're just saying how they think that Geo made so many spots up on that one restart because guys were so used to going to the right of the cone, and they did it last second. Like the guy would just go choose or something, like he didn't give enough warning.
Yeah.
So he thought so many like guys were just so used to going to the cone that that's how, because Geo was paying attention, he was able to sneak up a couple rows. And I was specifically watching on Tuesday for the choose cone, and the first one, like maybe one guy went top, or like, but then the second and third ones, just like I predicted, every single car went to where they were supposed to go. So that's how I think it's going to end up. It's going to be cool at first, but eventually it's just going to be us picking where we were supposed to go anyway. Maybe like
As
a
long as the
roast.
track doesn't have any obvious
Obvi-
advantages one way or another, right? Like
I
that's what it
think
comes
even
down
at
to
that, with
too.
the sprint car and the wings, the way we can usually run every line, especially at us weekend, I don't know. You ain't going to want to give up that track position. Just like the dice roll, that is kind of a cringy thing they got going. Like I am not feeling the dice roll that
Hmm.
they're doing to add the extra money to the purse. Like, or at least bring it like my crew guys are like, bring it down to one die. Like they're throwing two dice, so they rolled an 11 on uh Tuesday, and so either it was, who was it, Brent Marks or Macri, I think, or something like that. Anyway,
Hmm.
the front row, they both denied it. Could have been start 11th, get 11,000 more dollars. Fun fact: the guy who did start 11 was Zeb Wise, ended up second. So they could have done it. Like even though it was
Yeah, if you
11th
had the
at that
car.
track, you have the car, you can get it done because there was, I think, a little extra laps too. But yeah, I think start using one dice or something, because now it's 0 for 4 guys taking the dice roll.
Hmm.
And so they're both, that's a fun thing. Like they're just trying to get going. But like what I feel that series needs is like, because it feels like the sprint car version of Castrol Racing Night in America on Flow when they do the late models.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a lull in the action, which was, there was a ton of them on Tuesday, like it was pretty bad. Like it definitely fed the people that say all the sprint cars do is line up and flip and spin out, and because that's, it was feeling like 305s and the 410s once they got out there, because it was a heavy cushion, just a little bit heavier track, and they were wrecking a lot, like no doubt about it. So where was I going with that before that?
Just that there's too much downtime.
Yeah, too much downtime. So they're
Yeah.
comparing it to Flow Racing Night in America, like I am, and I just feel like they need to sprint car knowledgeable people to have, like, to throw to the podcast room like they do during Flow Night Racing Night in America. And they've got those two late model guys that know everything about late models, and then they just chat while there's downtime and other stuff going on. And I
I
kind of
don't
like
hate that
that
idea.
version. So they need.
Coming from my
I
media
saw that on the
background,
internet. That's not my own idea, really, but like it's just a great idea.
I think coming from my media background, I think that makes total sense. Like, even for our local broadcast, the way that G Force does it, where sometimes between events we get our trackside appearance from Clinton Jeffries, and Clinton's down there grabbing an interview, doing something, and that helps fill the time, right? Because there is a lot of downtime. Like, it's
Like
not
to me,
like you guys have starters.
yeah,
You can't just fire those cars up and roll out and go. Like, it's a bit of a process to get a sprint car race set up. I wanted to touch on your choose cone point as well. I almost feel like I'm expecting to show up to Oswego Speedway, and you guys will have the choose drone from
I wouldn't
the
mind
NASCAR
that,
Bristol
better than
race,
using the exact same cone like they did with the high limit and
right?
confusing people the first time. And we definitely need a ton of a warning first, like time to choose, boys, time to choose, boys and girls, sorry, time to choose, time to choose. Like we need to hear it like a whole bunch in a row. Like, so
So,
we know it's coming up. We know we're starting to count cars. Like we can be ready for which way we want to handle it. Like you can't just give us a split second to do it.
so
Like
would
we
you
need
almost
to
want?
be aware.
You would almost maybe want like a signal at the starter stand where you get like a popsicle sticks with the yellow lights on to know, okay, that's two to go, which you would figure two to go is going to be where the choose happens because
Yeah.
unlike
Or Dougie just say it on the radio is all we need.
yeah, so but I'm saying like you got to know on the backstretch, right? Because ideally I think Oshweekend would want this to happen on the front stretch, whereas I think the high limit series, I'm not sure if it's been at both tracks or not. I don't remember,
I'm
but
not sure which stretch Oshweeken's doing it either.
I feel like it was backstretch though for the high limits, which doesn't give you much time. It's not like you can choose and come to
Not
green,
if
and
you're
plus
coming
that
to green.
takes away
I'm
from
not
the
sure either.
fan vantage point, right? So
Yeah.
you want
I
to
say you
have
definitely want to do it on the front stretch so fans can see
yeah,
people choosing.
absolutely. So that would be my one suggestion just from the limited stuff that I've seen from
And
the
then,
high
yeah,
limit series
just
so far.
lots of
Just
warning.
make sure that drivers know on the backstretch that they are coming to the choose on the front stretch. Do the choose on the front stretch. Use something other than a cone if possible. And yeah, that'd be. I think those are the two main things that we've learned so far. And yeah, I've kind of joked that Mercury's in retrograde. I've seen a lot of like my fiance's really into the stars and all that, like signs and stuff like that. And I see tons of memes about Mercury in retrograde, and I feel like it's really affecting the racing world because you said High Limit Racing Series has already seen two major injuries this week. Pretty big news, especially for NASCAR fans and sprint car fans, that Alex Bowman, uh, he's got a cracked vertebrae from his flip the other night, and by all accounts doing okay, but he's going to miss the next 3 to 4 NASCAR Cup Series races, which I'm sure Mr. H is not happy after Chase Elliott's already missed some time this year. And that's potentially two drivers for Hendrick that might not make the playoffs because of injuries, which is a huge deal money wise, fame wise, and all that.
Yep.
Uh, that's a tough potential look. And it probably definitely puts Kyle Larson in an awkward position, who's got the contract guarantee of
I'm
like I
pretty
can
sure
go
he
and race
does.
whatever I want,
Yep.
but it's his series that injured a driver that is his teammate. So I'm sure Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick are not pleased about that particular thing. But was just one of those racing deals, right? So
It
just
wasn't
kind of a
his
bad
fault.
luck situation.
Like there was a lot of people on the internet first saying it was his fault, but if you slow down the video, not even close. The guy on the outside, he comes out at 4, gets a little tight. The car wheelies, called a torque wheelie in those things because they just got so much torque in them 410s. And then he wheelies, tries to fix it, lifts a little bit. The car slams down, and he loses the hand a little bit and comes down the track just that little bit. It was just the lane. It was the lane that Alex Bowman left him room coming off the corner. Alex set his car straight to go down on the bottom. He was going to hit the bottom going in. And that guy made a little mistake and had to use that little extra buffer room Alex hit. And yeah, the main problem is what Alex does. That's why I run a crash pad in my sprint car, which is just a aircraft grade foam cushion that goes under your butt, just to give it that little bit of extra, almost like an air cushion under your butt. Like I don't know if Alex had one or not, but because the way he came down on his car, that's the way it's done. That's what happened to Kevin Swindell. That is like when you see a car come down on all fours, slap the belly bottom off the track and stuff like that. Like that's almost like the other guy went flying through the air. The car was almost ripped in half and he got out like no problems. Good to
Yeah,
go. And because of that belly bottom slap, if you see that in a race car, you have to start getting nervous because those are almost the worst hits to have, other than obviously like a right in the cockpit hit or right dead head center in the cage or something. But like that's like the third worst way to land.
yeah,
It,
not
they're
fun.
all terrible. They're all tied for first worst ways things to happen.
Yeah, not fun. But yeah, obviously wishing my guy Alex Bowman a speedy recovery, and hopefully everything kind of gets back to normal in the racing
Yeah,
world in terms of we've had a pretty clean run the last couple years for injuries. I feel like in like the last month or so, it's been we had a tragedy
ugly.
and then we've had some hard hits and some ugly incidents. So hopefully that we're going to start putting that behind us. I believe we are now 9 days away from Brighton, so shout out to those guys who are going to be getting ready to go soon. Something else from the sprint car world I feel like we should touch on is McFadden doping tires.
Yeah. Last year there was a USAC versus whatever the DIRTcar non-wing extreme non-wing series. Like both of them guys had a tire doping war. People got thrown out and stuff. But then now for the World of Outlaws to do it, especially on this new tire stuff, which is a little bit harder. So yeah, you definitely see guys breaking the tire dope out, and you're always wondering what's going on. And so I can definitely, hopefully, see some getting tested around here.
Yeah,
Even though
you
it's
think?
tough, like if there's a short, like it does junk a tire because they do have to cut it out.
Yeah.
But
What
I wouldn't
I
mind seeing it checked.
you would want it to be checked more often. So does that mean that you think it's more of a problem that's not talked about in this area right now,
It's
or is
not
it
even in
something you
this
guys
area. It's
are
just in
talking
racing
about?
in general, like
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I don't
Fair
want to
enough.
center out this area at all. Like just, I know a very famous race car driver. I'm not going to name names. Like he's way up there in Canada, one of the best. Not anyway, and he says he's never won a race without a dope tire.
Fair enough. I
Yeah,
mean, it's the way she goes. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? So I'm most interested to
that guy might
see.
be a pavement racer though, but
Yeah,
that's all I'm giving.
okay, fair enough. All right. At least it's not anybody from the dirt world. Not that there's
But yeah,
not anybody. I've
just
already heard so many stories being
if
at
we're gonna have a
BRP.
rule that
So
you can't dope tires, we have to check it. Otherwise,
yeah,
remove the rule and let us dope them. Because honestly, me, for a cheaper, lower budget guy, sometimes I wonder if maybe doping tires would be a little cheaper for me, where I can massage them and bring the life back, and they'll refire a little bit more. Even if you like the left rear now, when we get on the new tire, we'll be able to flip them, so you can get
yeah.
the fresh edges after a few weeks. And if you're able just to rub a little bit of go juice on it, might help me a little bit for
So what
a
about?
lower budget guy. But
So what
but then you
exactly does it do for the competition? Like, if everybody got to dope tires, do you think we
yeah,
would see
I
a
don't
better racing product?
uh like a lot of time, like it's just such a hard thing to like. I never see them not having the rule. Although, like, I'm pretty sure the Short Track Super Series kind of like rewrote the rules a little bit to kind of say, meh, especially during the shortages.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just definitely a touchy subject. But if you're gonna have the rule, I think we need to start
enforce
checking.
it. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
which the World of Outlaws did today, and I saw them getting a lot of heat for it, and no reason for it.
Yeah,
That's the rule. Guy got
call it.
caught. Make
Oddly
sure
enough,
like there is some stuff in the lab testing too. Like that was the big thing between the USAC and the Extreme is, well, this lab said that, this lab said that, and
yeah,
so it's all such a such a tough one with the tire dope.
it's almost like doping in UFC.
Pretty much,
Crazy.
except in the tire dope.
So the last point I want to make on this, or last thing I kind of wanted to touch on, is with the tire doping, and McFadden's going to go ahead and appeal this penalty. I think this is going to go to the same appeals board, if I'm not mistaken, as the appeals board that made headlines for handling the Hendrick and Colleague racing cases in NASCAR. Because if I'm not mistaken, and if somebody does know any differently and they want to correct us on the show, feel free to comment on Facebook or send us an email, send us a message, and just let us know. But I believe that they're going to be using the same appeals board. I believe it's a National Motorsports Appeals Board. So do you almost wonder, do you think that the World of Outlaws guys are thinking maybe this is something I can push the limit on or try to get away with, because we saw that the appeals panel has been, for the most part, ruling in the favor of these drivers and teams in the big series. So why not
Mm-hmm.
try to push it at like the lower ranks, or push it in the I guess the world of sprint cars, really, because it's not not necessarily a lower rank.
Tire
It's
dope's
just a
pretty
different thing.
more black and white than other than the lab, yeah. But like with the Hendrick penalties, it was like literally seemed to me like the parts obviously came to them not right the way it was handled. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like
and
it's a
from
part
my
not being right versus tire dope. A part's a lot easier to look at and measure.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too with that argument, to kind of maybe correct myself here, is that with the Hendrick and Colleague situation, is that from all accounts they were in full communications ahead of time with NASCAR, and the part never actually hit the track, whereas McFadden
Yes,
obviously ran this tire. So
certainly
uh,
did.
that's another issue where I think his case is going to be a little bit harder to overturn, but you never know with the way things have been going. Why not try your hand at the appeals? And again, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So
I'm gonna leave it with this. I know a lot of people are always crying motor cheating. Like that's a lot. Like I can guarantee you, in the racing world, there's a lot more tire cheating than motor cheating going on, like within the winning drivers.
all
That's
right,
my personal opinion.
says the motor guy conveniently.
No, because they check the motors all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, it's a lot easier to get away with something that maybe is right there in plain sight
Yeah,
more
especially
often than not.
like the rules that are like pure black and white. Like most of the engine builder guys that broke rules back in the day, they didn't black and white break a rule. They went and did something that wasn't in the rules.
Yeah, they found
and
it
then
between
rules
the
got
lines.
made because of them. That is a difference.
Yeah.
Than plain out cheating, like running a big carburetor, which is so obviously basic when you put the no gauge in there and it tinkers around.
Yeah.
Obvious.
So with that said, we're optimistic. Well, at least I'm optimistic, but I was optimistic last week, and then I had to go in and cut into the show to say that the racing was canceled from Maryville. We hope it gets going from Maryville. If it does, it'll be the 72nd season opener. Bobcat of Hamilton Weekly Racing opens, brought to you by Select Total Service. Hopefully this Saturday, April 29th. Hopefully I'll see a bunch of fans out there at the racetrack. And if I do, and you want to grab a Sods Pod sticker, I will have some available for purchase. There's been a ton of people who have connected with me saying they wanted to buy one at the racetrack. No connections, unfortunately, at the racetrack last week because of the cancellation of the Spring Sizzler. But I do want to shout out one of our sticker buyers, one of our supporters here, sticker supporters, Ryan. He appreciate him stopping by the White House of Rock to pick up a sticker from me last Sunday, and he supported the show and supporting my efforts to get to Super Dirt Week. And this is gonna be a blast all summer long, tracking this, and maybe there'll be more merch to come. But for now, the stickers are where it's at. And if you want to buy one, find me at a racetrack. Find Travis at a racetrack, which hopefully you will be at a racetrack. Oh,
Ryan Turner.
Ryan Turner.
Thanks to Ryan Turner Racing. Yep, they're going for 5 for 20.
Awesome. I love
it.
But
for most part, I want to save mine. I'll sell Ryan his 5, but I'm gonna save a lot of mine for like on the roads, like when I'm rolling to Brighton or when I'm rolling to Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. I'll be doing a post and letting everyone out in those ways know that I'll have stickers on me.
For sure. And you hopefully will be hitting the road. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but why don't we wrap up before we get to Charlie Sandercock with the ESS opener, which you're hoping to be at?
Yeah. We had their champion on the show a little bit earlier on in the off season, Jordan Poirier, and he was also Knights of Thunder champion, kicked our butts for a couple of years. I say we tuned him up for the ESS, so he went and tuned them guys up. So, I'm going to go on the road with him tomorrow, hopefully. I'm going to wait. They're making the decision at 8 o'clock. Going to see how the weather is. It has been improving. Like, it definitely looks like a little bit better down there, but it is that dreaded possibly rain, like, once you get the show going.
Yeah.
God, that sucks.
Yeah, but, especially for that haul, right? It's one thing to haul down the road to Merrittville, which is, still a half hour-ish kind of thing for you, but
going. I'm pretty hopped up. I can see myself going anyways, but
yeah,
Jordan will be there anyways because he's going to have to because he's trying to defend the championship, and hope we can do it.
Absolutely. Well, with all that said, let's get to our interview this week. We're catching up with a guy who did some winning recently down stateside. Let's talk to Charlie Sandercock on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing with a new season of family-friendly events on the horizon and set to begin May 19th. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunder stocks, and mini stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANA CURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com or on Facebook or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing. And joining us now on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast is Charlie Sandercock, who has had a pretty eventful month or so and some great success down in stateside. But first, Charlie, just thanks for joining the show, and how are you doing?
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad able to join you guys. I was kind of surprised you got a message the other day. You want me to come on board. So thank you for that. And everything's been kind of busy the last month or so, getting ready to go racing and getting farm equipment and everything ready to go in the fields and life. And it's just been, summer's not even here yet, and we're going crazy.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's been a wild bit of time here for you. Just talk to us about everything that it took to get down on that trip and be a part of the Battle of the Bay series there from your standpoint.
It's definitely, I think we're in the same boat as everyone that even come race season, which is almost a month away when we go to Battle of the Bay, and we're always right down to the wire to get everything ready for them. But then you shove it back 2 or 3 weeks and crams everything in that much sooner. And we've done, that was our third trip down to Battle of the Bay, down in Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And it was, we went the first 2 years, inaugural years that they had it, and then we weren't able to go to the next 3 because of COVID, or 2 because of COVID, and then last year we just weren't to go, and we weren't ready and had too much stuff on our plate, and we decided not to go. And then this year we thought we should go back and give it a try.
All right, so there was 4 tracks. I knew the first 2, Delaware and Georgetown.
Yeah.
I know you ran 6 at Delaware, but talk us about the first 3 nights of the week before we get to the big win on the Sunday or the last night.
I've been to this is my 3rd time to all those tracks other than Potomac on the Friday night. The second year we went down, we got rained out, so I'd only been there one other time. Delaware, we were faster to the gate. We set fastest in our group, 2nd overall. Had good qualifying position. We won our heat race. The car was just good all night long. Won the dash, started up front for the feature. We actually lost a couple positions in the dash and the heat race, and then we're able to power back and make some passes to get to the lead, and we ended up going on to win. And then in the feature time, we had a good car, and then I think about 5 or 6 laps in or so, had a shock mount come undone. So that kind of totally upset the car and changed our what could have been a better result for us anyways. So.
Yeah.
And that was...
Yeah, I was watching that night. That makes sense.
It just tightened the car up so much that it just, and then didn't have drive coming off. So we were able to finish with a 6, so we'll take it. And it was...
Yeah,
kind of sucks. We could have had a better result that night, but hey, that's the way she goes. And then on to Georgetown for Thursday night. I'd struggled at Georgetown the last 2 times I went there, so I was I had in mind all winter what I was doing when I went there to turn the car around and make it decent. And I threw the book at it to make changes, and it seemed to really help. And the car was good. We were in 2nd our heat, made the dash, qualified for the dash again. We started 8th in the feature. We got to 3rd within 5 laps or something like that. I had a very, very good car. And on a restart, me and guy on the outside, we tangled. We got together a little bit and been a tie rod. And then the car wouldn't quite steer as good after that. So that was another night of our results could have been a lot better. But again, that's the way it goes.
That's fair. And then it kind of all came together for you on the final night there at Winchester. Just talk to us about your efforts there, what it meant to close out the tour with the win and become the first Canadian to ever win at Winchester on dirt.
Yeah, it was all night where the car was good all night. There was a 3-hour rain delay. So that kind of set the way the track was going to be for the night, and with it being cloudy and no sun and that much moisture, it was just heavy and fast all night long. And luckily that we got a decent starting spot for the feature, and we were able to I think our biggest battle was cautions. There was a lot of cautions towards the end of the race, and it just you just get going, and then a caution, and then another caution, another caution. I don't even know how many cautions there was, but I would almost say there had to have been 15 or 20 cautions. It felt like 100, but it was just you the guys behind you that they race there all the time, or they race that series all the time, and the amount of competition that is behind you knocking on the door, and it's just like, all right, we can do this, and keep focused and doing what you're doing, and but it's still knowing who was behind you is always in the back of your mind, and you couldn't give up till after the last lap, and because you never know that last lap slide job, who knows what could happen. So you gotta keep going right to the end, and pulling off the win with those guys at that Battle of the Bay series was fantastic. Like, just for me and my team, all my supporters, like, it was just amazing. And then to be first Canadian to win a race at Winchester, it was just added on top of that. So it was definitely great for my team and my supporters and everyone.
So that was your 4th career rush win, I think I saw. I know that one of them was at Merrittville. Where was the other 2?
The first rush win was at Merrittville, and then in 2019, I think it was, the rush series invaded Quebec, and we were at Granby and RPM, and I won both of those races down there. So I was 2-3, and then those were my first rush races I've won. Those were the first 3 rush races I won, and all of them were in Canada. And then the 4th one was at Winchester, so it was my first rush win on American soil. So it was.
What other Yankee tracks have you won at? I know Can-Am for sure.
Can-Am, Evans Mills, Fulton.
Yeah.
Winchester.
Fulton's a good one.
Yeah.
So it wasn't your first American win or nothing?
No.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. It's always.
It makes it sound so easy when you say it like that. Been there, done that.
Even like to win on a new racetrack, whether it's in Canada or in the States, it's just fantastic to win at a new track, and especially against the competition that you're racing at. It's that first race win feeling all over again.
Yeah.
Folks from Van Sickle Pet Value and PV on the Lane aren't just fans of your favorite four-legged friends, they are race fans too. That's why Jeff and Rhonda Riley, as well as their staff, have teamed up with Merrittville Speedway to make your race day experience more convenient. Race fans can now pick up tickets for race nights while grabbing the highest quality food, treats, toys, and accessories for their pets from the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls locations. Each grandstand ticket will also have a voucher that can be used in-store for a free pet bath at their dog wash stations. Drivers and crew members can also skip the line by purchasing pit passes in-store, giving them more time to get their rides ready for Saturday nights. Check out Van Sickle Pet Value across from Best Buy and Walmart on 4th Avenue in St. Catharines, and PV on the Lane at the corner of Kayla Road and Lundy's Lane, Highway 20. The Maryville Kart Club turns 30 this season, and they can't wait to celebrate with you. Join them Tuesday nights to see the next generation of local heroes race their way up the ranks. Matt Williamson, Cody McPherson, and Dalton Slacker are just a few names who have graduated from the Maryville Kart Club ranks to become winners and champions of the sport. The season will begin May 9th with multiple practices through the end of April and May scheduled, including driver's school April 23rd. You can support the club by purchasing a 30th anniversary t-shirt or hoodie, both of which are available now for pre-order. For more information and kart club schedule, visit MaryvilleSpeedway.com. So I want to kind of dive back into the beginnings of your racing career and how things got going for you. So just talk to us a little bit about your relationship with your uncle, who kind of, it seems like that you and your dad teaming up to kind of help your uncle is how the racing bug was born for you and where you got bit with it.
Yeah, so I was into racing basically since I was born. My dad helped my Uncle Lee out on his race car forever. And he started racing at Brighton Speedway, and he got into racing with Huck Flindle. So Huck Flindle's number was 57, and then when my Uncle Lee started racing, he was number 57. And then me growing up watching my uncle, that's where I got my number from, was watching him, and I want to be the 57 as well. So that's where the 57 come from. And then my dad helping him out, and then going out to my uncle's place and working on the cars, sitting in the cars, being around them. I was involved with him from a very young age. And then, so then at 14, me and my buddies, Justin Ramsey, Adam Wells, and we decided to, hey, let's build a race car. So then we got a race car and put a roll cage in it, and the rest was kind of snowballed from there. We started in 4 cylinders, and we got in, and I ended up buying my uncle's modified off of him in 2005, I think it was 2004, 2005, and I raced modified for 5 or 6 years. And then when Brighton brought the late models back in 2010, that's when I switched to late models, and then we've been into late models ever since.
Yeah, just talk about Brighton as your home track. I always love going there, and I just love that place. So talk about what it's like being there, growing up in that area, and just like there's always that aura about, like, there's almost like not like it's always packed no matter what. You could have just 4 cylinders and the place would be packed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And Brighton's been obviously my home track. It's 20 minutes up the road. We've raced there since 2002. The place has come a long ways since I've started going there. Mark and Angie, and they've done a lot of stuff around there to improve. They're always trying to improve everything around the facility and do everything they can to better help the racers and stuff. But like the race at Brighton, I find sometimes that track can be tricky, but then other nights it's simple. It can change. You can have 3 different completely race surfaces from the time you hit it in hot laps to the feature time.
Yeah,
and it can be single lane hammer down in the heat races, and then next thing you know, the track prep crew might go out and change up a couple things and clean off the top, and then you're racing 3 wide in the slick in the feature. So you have to be. It's very technical sometimes on how the track reacts, how you have to tune your car, and there's not too many weeks where you can roll in there the same setup you had the week before and work the same.
Yeah, my thing about Brighton, like you said, like it can be hammer down, like not even lifting the sprint car in hot laps, and then heat race still a little bit, but like it seems like flip of the switch, it goes dead slick. Like, do you think that's because of the dirt, or because it seems like other tracks are more gradual? That one just flips the switch so quick.
I think it's a little bit of between the soil and we try and get going. Like hot laps are at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on a normal night, right? So it's
Yeah.
they maybe just an extra hour of running in the daylight in the sun, and we all know how day racing works out. That the track is gone in a hurry because there's nights that if it's cloud covered, then that moisture stays there longer and is there. So I think it's a lot of it's cross between the soil and the
Yeah.
weather.
I love it there though.
That Yeah, that's a great spot. One that's definitely on my list to hit this summer at some point. Something else I wanted to ask you about is, you've had obviously a lot of success in the late models, but you also have taking your talents behind the wheel of a sprint car in the past too, and I believe you even have a win back in 2015. So, talk to us a little bit about sprint
He
car
does.
life and maybe the decisions to stay out of sprint cars. Maybe are sprint cars something that you've got on the brain for the future? Where sprint cars kind of operate in the world of Charlie Sandercock these days?
So yeah, I got into a sprint car back in would have been 14. I think it was 2014. I think it was
A little bit
13,
earlier than that you
actually.
started. Because I've raced
12 or
against you
13.
in those back then. I think 13 or 12.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it was quite a while ago. I'm trying to go off
But
paint schemes on which car.
you did it quite a few years too, but just at
Yeah.
Brighton.
So
Yeah.
the first year I ran it, actually, first time I drove it was Greg Bellier bought the sprint car off of Ryan McDonald, and he's like, "Well, I want to try it. I want to race it." He took it to Can-Am, and Greg's a big guy. He didn't quite fit in it, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't like this." So then he says to me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to take it to Brighton for testing too?" I'm like, "Yeah, like it's a sprint car, sure. Yeah, I'll jump in that thing." And, well, we go to testing soon, and it was like my second session out or something like that, and I got the feel of the car, and next thing you know, I'm going around there with it to the floorboards all the way around, and it's like. Then we turned some decent laps, and he asked if we want to run it with the SOS. So we ran it with the SOS when they come to Brighton, and then that year was my rookie year. We went to the Nationals. I actually stayed home from a late model series race and went to the Nationals that weekend. So, and yeah, and we had a good car, and we started, I don't know, eighth or something like that in the last chance. And we got to the lead, and I didn't realize I had a full straightaway lead. And I think there was like 30 some cars in the last chance, and there was cars everywhere. We're lapping cars, and then coming into turn 3, I see a nose come underneath me. So I'm like, we got to go. There's like 2 or 3 laps left, maybe. I think it might have been 4 or 6, something like that. Anyways, and I come off turn 4, and a lap car zigged, and I zagged, and I should have zigged, and I clipped his right rear, and we end up taking out the fence up into the just past the flag stand. So that ended our rookie season of the Nationals there. So that was a highlight of my year for sure. Just running up front at Ashwegan at the Nationals, and yeah, guys behind you. I think it was hooping in or something like that was behind me, and it's like, yeah, again, you know who's behind you, and they're coming, and you gotta be on your marks and every lap right to the end. And well, I wasn't quite on my marks right to the end. So
Talk about
then,
getting the win in her.
yeah, so then I had Kevin Lovey's helped me out quite a bit with my sprint car stuff and through my whole sprint car program. And I remember him always telling me, like, just get into those grocery getters and get into these things. Just put those grocery getters away. Yeah. So I started just running races. I started doing some of the SOS stuff. We went to Humberstone. We almost got a win there, and then we had a tire exit stage left with about 3 or 4 laps to go, and that would have been our first feature win. But unfortunately, that one didn't finish well. And then we just kind of, I think we did a few more other SOS races, but then mainly stuck to Brighton. We would test a little bit here and there at Brighton and try and just get our car better so that maybe we could get a win. And we ended up getting one win. It was the Labor Day weekend. I think we had a couple of restarts towards the end of the race too, and I dropped a cylinder. Like I could feel like it was missing. It was like this thing has to last a couple more laps, and ended up knocked the push rod out and bent a valve and stuff like that. So we didn't end up racing the next day, but we won the Saturday night, and it was just like winning your first race all over again. It was a new series, and knowing the guys that are on Labor Day weekend, there's no slouches. And when you pass a guy
No.
like Mitch Brown for the lead on a dry slick racetrack, it's like
Yep.
just that feeling there. It's like, man, like it's just an amazing feeling for my team and everyone for how much work. And Doug Hanmore and Chris Ostrom Shrek, they were my dedicated sprint car guys. They worked on that thing whenever we want to go racing, and those guys busted their butts for me, and I always appreciate them helping me out on that. And they always had a good car wherever we went, and we kind of worked well together, and it was fantastic. And those guys were the ones that helped me get that win that I got. So. And as far as
I'm jealous of
you,
I got 5 seconds.
We got as far as getting out of it, we got too busy. We had too much on our plate, and our race car would literally get pulled out on a Saturday morning, and it would like be sitting in the corner of the barn. We pull it out. We would blow the dirt off it from sitting in the corner. We would go through the valves, blow out the injectors, and kind of go over it, maybe grind some tires, and just kind of, all right, yep, put on the trailer, let's go. And it wasn't getting the attention that our late model team got, and it wasn't getting the attention that a sprint car team would need. So it was just like, and there was a few items here and there that were kind of getting wore out on it, and we need to replace this or that. It became not having enough time, and it wasn't giving the right attention. So it's like, well, why are we trying to do this? And so that's when we decided just to put that aside and not try and half-ass run a team.
Yeah, fair enough. Something I wanted to ask you about is you have one of the more unique and identifiable race cars going with your number placement. So just talk to us about why you decided to run your 57, maybe a little bit crooked, some people might feel, and a little bit off center on the side of your race cars.
On the quarter panel, right?
It's kind of over the wheel well, really. Like it's almost in the middle of the wheel well.
Yeah.
When I first got into racing, I was just after I got into racing. It was my second year into racing. I took a co-op placement at Bullet Signs and Graphics, and so I was working there, and I could like the 57 it just didn't go, and it just didn't really look like it should, or they just didn't look fast or cool. So then we designed my 57 so that it was kind of stacked and in behind, and then I ran like that for a few years. And then I always liked how Dale Plank had his like 66 his 66 was stacked on top of each other. So I was thinking of trying to do something like that, and then it's like, oh, that doesn't work with the 5 and a 7. And so then we just kind of played with it, and I was like, I kind of like the look of it bigger, but the bigger it is, then the more space it takes up for your sponsors. So it's like, if we put this kind of over the wheel well, and who cares if you cut out not half, but a corner of the number, then you can make it bigger. It's still legible, and it just kind of, I've always liked it. Was kind of, we did it. It's like, I like that, and just kind of we stuck with it.
I like it.
It's definitely unique. It definitely makes you stand out, and I would say that you know what? of all the 57s that are in dirt racing these days, I kind of think yours is a bit more exciting, at least to watch around the track, than maybe another famous 57 that's been kind of making headlines the last few years, and maybe sprint cars,
Yeah.
if you will. But Charlie, it's been a blast catching up with you. We want to get you out of here on this one here. Talk to us about. I'm going to ask you first, I'm going to ask you two questions here to get out of here. One, I'm going to give you an unlimited plot of land somewhere in Ontario to build your perfect dirt facility. It can be a replica of a track maybe you've already been to before, or you can incorporate multiple elements from a bunch of different tracks that you've raced at. What would your perfect dirt track in Ontario look like?
Um, it's that's tough. Obviously, a variety of different racetracks to go to is key for, like, I love going to Oshwegan. It's wide, it's racy. There's so much room for slide jobs and maneuvering and making passes like 4 or 5 wide. But then you go to the other end of the spectrum, you go to Cornwall, it's a tight bull ring, short, banked, but it's also very racy. So then you got like Maryville, it's like a D shape, and Brighton and Humberstone, I feel, are somewhat similar for some track surfaces. But I would probably build something maybe a little bit smaller than Can-Am, racing like Cornwall, high banked, kind of like, there's Belclair, I think it might be down in the States. It's a short little high bank, racy track. So like something like that, I think, would be what I
Nice.
would want.
Yeah, I like 3/8 and smaller. I think that brings up the best racing for the most part.
Yeah, anything bigger
Yeah.
than that. Like, yeah, it's cool to go to a super speedway, we'll call it, big half mile on dirt. But I think
Yep.
that the racing isn't near as good. I don't think. I think it's your shorter tracks, your more stop and go, give better excitement, I think.
For sure. All right, and last one. If you could only pick one type of race car and one racetrack to race it on for the rest of your life, it can be something you've driven in the past, something you've always wanted to drive. What's the combination you're picking?
It's going to be a super late model, and if it had to be on any racetrack, that's tough. I'd like to race at Eldora, but also that's one of those big racetracks that I don't find to be as fun as a smaller bull ring. Um,
Stumped him.
I don't know. That's a tough one. Which track?
He told him what
I
car
should
he'd
know.
drive anyway. Super late model, like right away.
Yeah,
The track's the hardest part.
it is, because like, do you pick one that you love racing all the time, that here, or is it something down in the States where you haven't been before? Like, yeah, Eldora would be awesome to go to. I'd like to race there. So I'll just pick
Yeah.
Eldora.
Awesome. That's all right.
Perfect.
Let's put it on the bucket list to do, and we hope that there's plenty more checker flags north and south of the border for you throughout 2023. Charlie, thanks for joining the show. Congrats on the success to start the year, and we look forward to seeing you back on the racetrack real soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having us.
Charlie Sandercock on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show presented by Oshwegan Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products. Like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with us on Facebook at Southern Ontario Dirt Show or find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SODS_pod. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.